Welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swiz, and I'm here with a very special guest tonight. We've got Victor, the owner, the captain, the president of Tiger Time 2024, and he is the number one supercoacher in the country right now. Victor, welcome.
Thanks, Swiz. It's a pleasure to be on your pod, mate. Didn't think it would be me being number one, but I'm going to take it and enjoy it and see where the road takes me. So,
no, I appreciate you joining us, mate. And from a selfish point of view, it's good to see a Tiger man up there, up the top, leading the way. So we'll get into all things about your team in a second. Guys, I know there's already quite a few jumping on. Feel free to put your questions in, Victor, and I'll go through that soon. But as always, check us out on all our social media platforms, in particular the YouTube and Spotify, and get in contact with us via Twitter, Supercoach Insider 100 and Swiz 26 for me directly. All right, so mate, number one, I've got to ask. We'll start off with the easy one. How long have you been playing Supercoach? And what is sort of interests in fantasy football? Is it just for AFL, or are you a bit more of a bit like myself and a bit of a fantasy nuffy and play a wider range of fantasy sports, mate?
Yeah, I've been playing Supercoach since 2014, so 10 years now. I've always loved it. Loved the aspect of picking players based on potential points that they can make. I obviously am a sport fanatic. I love it. Soccer, golf, footy. I follow Richmond, massive Richmond supporter, and I'm a Liverpool man as well in the Premier League, and we're very close to winning the league. So hopefully we can get the job done in the last 5 weeks. But it's been about 10 years. I think my best finish was in 2016. I finished 905th, and I was 11th after round 4. But I don't reckon there was much.
I don't know if that's the omen we want, mate. Is the fact that you've had you've been up there before, but anything can happen in these games, and obviously you're putting everything right. A couple of people saying go Reds at the moment. I nearly wore my Man City top today, but I did know that you're a Liverpool supporter. So
I actually saw your post, mate, and you had the Man City hoodie on, and my mates were saying, Vic, why don't you wear a Richmond polo and a Liverpool scarf? I'm like, mate,
yeah.
I want to get on again, so I better be good.
And I nearly thought I've got everyone goes the Carlton top. I've got the cricket top on. We're kicking off winter cricket this week, myself and JP as we do. I nearly thought about that. I usually wear it just to annoy my brother because my brother's a big Liverpool fan. So mum and the family are all from the north of England. So I think I've gone one way and he's gone the other way. It's good, mate. And I hear yourself and even a mate just off topic a little bit, are doing all right in the old Fantasy Premier League this year.
Yes, big shout out to Dean Pamonti. His team name is Globo Gym in FPL. I think he's 177th overall, and I think 3rd or 4th in Australia. We've probably been playing, he hasn't been playing Supercoach that long, but EPL, we've played it for that number of time as well. And he's actually doing all right with Supercoach as well, 2nd year, and he's ranked 1700th. So he's going well for someone who's just started. So
it's fantastic. And I think compared to about 170,000 playing Supercoach, the Fantasy Premier League, it's about 9 or 10 million people playing that. So to be ranked as high as that is absolutely unreal. So credit and all the best for him in the last sort of 4 rounds here. It'll be an interesting watch on. But we are here to talk AFL Supercoach. So I'm going to get up straight off here your team, so we can have a look. So we all can see there, number one ranked, flying along, which is obviously actually, and I've it's funny that I've actually lost your spot there, but it's the team's looking great. Obviously, another good week for yourself. Let's talk from let's go back from the start here and what you're kind of looking at from the starting picks, and we'll build into how you've got to this stage. So what were kind of more the unique starting picks that we were looking at, or where was it more a bit vanilla? Well, how did the starting team shape up, mate?
Look, it was obviously different with like all the buys, because obviously with round 0 and then round 2 being a buy, I'm pretty sure it was round 2 and then round 3. So it was a lot different to original years where, like, I think the normal structure that I've normally tried to always do is potentially a 3-6-2-3, which is somewhere around about 14 premiums or 15 premiums to start with what you can afford. But I felt like this year there was a lot better rookies than previous years, just my general opinion. Like last year, they had like mid prices around that 200, 230, 240, where some people jumped on. Like I jumped on Fife last year and he got injured really early, but I missed Zeeble last year where Zeeble flied. So this year there was a couple of them around that sort of 200, 240 mark. And I felt like there was some really, really good, cheap enabler rookies. So the structure was originally 3-6-2-3, or it was really 1 and then all mid prices in the forward line. But I think it changed. Round 0, I originally didn't have Grundy in my team. I thought he was done. Like I thought he was a bit old, a bit slow. And then obviously he done that massive 70-point second half against Gawn, and Gawn only did like 70. And I ended up going back to Grundy, and I relied to keep Gawn because I've got an extra game and I've got unlimited trades next week to decide what I want to do with how my structure is going to be. But I think where it all sort of happened for me, where I had a really good start, was I had Gipkus as a loop in the back line, and he played against Carlton. And obviously, I love him, man. He's a Richmond boy. He's going to be an absolute champion, but he got his knee. And I felt like I had to restructure my team because I felt like that the middle was stacked with plenty of like rookies such as Sanders, McKercher, Sharp, Clark, Roberts. But then at the back, it's like we've got Caulfield. I don't know about his job security. We had that House who became really good, but we got rid of him. But I felt like I had to potentially change my middle to accommodate potentially getting a fourth back. But I didn't want to get four at the back and change the structure because I knew Gipkus was going to go. So what I had to do was potentially get a defensive midfielder in the middle, take out Gipkus, move up Elliot Yeo into the back line, and then I brought in Berry, who was on the bubble for round 2. But for me to bring in Yeo, I had to make adjustments of 3 players that I originally started with, and probably that's where it's been really lucky, I would assume. But I made them on the Saturday before the game, and it was Nick Martin, it was Ollie Wines, and it was Libba. They were all in my team. And surprisingly enough, by the end of before the Essendon game, there was 3 changes made, and it was Elliot Yeo, it was Tuke Miller, and it was Connor Rosie. And the reason why I picked Rosie was to cover Wines because I knew Wines was highly owned. And I've really tried to target Port Adelaide with their fixtures. Surprised I didn't go Houston, but they had like 7 out of 9 games, or I think it was 6 out of 8 at Adelaide Oval. So I'm like, if they're going to have that much home games and you're trying to get him through to buys, kind of being the captain, I'm like, he was only in 11% of teams, and I had Butters. So I'm like, I might do that and try and cover Wines. And I think the best pick for me was Ryan in my back line, 3% owned. I thought it was, I don't know how people didn't pick him. Like Hayden Young only played 6 games in the middle from last year, and he was obviously going to move into the middle. And I'm like, well, who else is going to take the kick-ins? Who else is going to get those cheap touches? And Ryan was only in 3% of teams, and he's been, pretty good. And obviously all the rest of them have been good as well. So
No. And it is a bit of a game of inches because we were talking about it off air. The round I traded out Harley Reid to get Flanders in, you were nearly considering that option.
Yes.
And then just because of a couple other things came up. And what was the trades you ended up doing instead that round?
Okay. Yes, I can. Oh, all right. I'm pretty sure I can remember. I was looking for him. Yeah. So, sorry, I did.
And I think this was leading into the Sydney West Coast game, which was the weekend I was up at Queensland.
It was when GWS and Gold Coast had the bye.
Yeah.
I had Miller and I had Green, and it was in a position saying, well, do I try and generate a premium somewhere else, or do I side trade a premium to bring in Sarong? And I chose to take Miller out to get Sarong because Sarong was priced, I think, at $6.30 with a really low break even.
Mm-hmm.
And that ended up making me keep Harley Reid. And then from that point, then the week after, I did get rid of Fife. But I kept Harley Reid, and like Fife potentially could be a top six, but I went Fife to Zorko.
Yeah.
And
huge
Zorko was only 3% owned. And I had a lot of people speaking to. Obviously, Abdul, he's a part of our Richmond Tigers supporters club. He's like, Victor, do not get Zorko. And I said, mate, I've got to go with my gut. I think he's got the role. I know he's 35, but I think that the bye rounds gave flexibility for me to be able to take a little bit of a risk.
Yep.
And if not, then I could just trade him out. And you can't beat the magician. He's a smart footballer. They look for him. He just has to stay on the park. So that's he's been really good up there. So
I love the fact you've gone with these pods and they've paid off for you, and that's the risk. Like I've probably myself tried to go anti pods, which just hasn't paid off. But these are the risks sometimes you've got to take to get up there, and it's obviously worked with you really well so far. And we kind of fast forward to round 6, so you've just scored 2,067 for the week, which was another really good score, which has obviously now moved you up and got you to rank number 1. So kind of looking into this week, well, I'll probably ask you the next obvious, if you don't mind sharing, how many boosts and where's your buy your trade situation is at the moment? Like how many trades and boosts?
Look, I think that majority of people who had sort of similar players have probably got the bad week is round 14.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that's probably more similar to everyone else. Obviously, I've still got 27 trades remaining, so I still feel like I'm very well poised. I have got some people on my radar this week. I'm probably about 2 or 3 that I'm thinking of bringing in. I don't have Flanders, and he's obviously hasn't went under 100, so he's definitely a target. But the problem is he does have to buy 14 round, so it's something that I need to try and consider. And because potentially Stewart is probably going to be a little bit cheaper, and he's got the round 14 buy as well, he could be a D6. So it's I've got Zorko. People have got Flanders, so if Zorko can match Flanders, and then I might be able to bring someone else in. I don't really have a heavy, I believe I've got a heavy midfield, but there's a few that are on my radar that I don't have, and that is Merritt, Steele, and Rao, in terms of what they're averaging.
Yep.
But they're now becoming really, really expensive. So my boost would hopefully be used to bring one of those in when I pull the trigger. I'm not sure at this stage, but that's sort of where I'm leaning at the moment. So, yeah.
Am I right in saying that you actually had Roberts on the bench as well this week?
I don't. Yeah, it was. Look, I feel like I had logic there, and obviously it didn't work. Roberts
I don't mind. I was just going to say straight for you, I don't mind the fact that the logic, you can explain that in a second, but the fact that you could have actually even been 50 points in further advance just shows how well you're probably doing right now, mate. But tell us what you're thinking there, mate.
Well, I feel like that players after a bye, I feel like they start slow. I feel like Richmond never won after a bye. It took us, we lost the prelim in 19 because we didn't play for 2 quarters or 18, whichever year it was, because we just had a week off and we just got into gears a little bit later in the game. I felt like with Roberts, Sydney a week off.
Most Geelong supporters out there will probably agree with that. They went through it for a number of years.
Yeah. And it even happened to us when we beat them in the prelim when we were like 5 goals behind. It was a similar sort of thing. But yeah, I thought Sharp, like he's got a motor on him. He runs around, he presents. I know he does get isolated a little bit on the wing. But I'm like, Roberts, if he scores an 80 or a 90, that's okay. But Sharp against West Coast in a derby, I thought Freo would win. Yeah, and I didn't have a loop. I needed Jai Clark to get I was praying that he would get dropped, being a sub, so I could go Sharp into Roberts. And it just worked out that way. If Roberts maybe played first, I probably would have played Roberts. But you know what? Go your gut. And that's what I did. And unfortunately, I got penalised on that 50 points. But like I said, I didn't think I was going to be first after the week, especially getting rid of Grundy, because I obviously went Cherry to bring in Nick Martin. So I had to free up money there to bring Martin in. And Cherry ended up doing a 144, and that's probably his personal best. So I got very lucky there. So
yeah. I love it, mate. And fast forwarding to this week, back to best 22. What are you kind of thinking? I can see sort of a Zach Williams in there. I know we're going to get a few questions about that. Is that somebody you're looking at moving on, or are you pretty happy where things are, and you're happy to just kind of hold, or is there a couple of moves you're trying to look at?
Like I'm trying this year to. I sometimes get very attached to potential rookies or players that I seem to like. Like I like Zach Williams, but the reality is going to be he's not going to be a keeper, and he's got a ceiling of maybe 100, 110, but then he's got a 50 in him. So, there's enough rookies there, and obviously I've got Roberts as well because obviously with the DPP now with Martin, that's why I chose Martin, because I'm like, if I could get him at D5 and then have Roberts with Closey as D6, just because Closey's a gun rookie, and who knows how long that will go for. Yeah. But I felt like I probably don't need Williams. So for me, it probably would be Williams and potentially maybe Sharp or Darcy out. And I really want to put McAuliffe in. I really do, being a Richmond man. But I'm just worried that I just don't know. I'm not sure on that. I think obviously the Garcia from St Kilda is definitely the right play to bring in. He's on the bubble, played on the ball, started in the middle. Like he played pretty well. I know that the other Garcia is good at Bulldogs, but I guess I can wait a week on him. I did go early on Biggie, and I'm hoping that he does get named and does play. But I think it would be Garcia with someone. If that doesn't free up enough money, maybe a potential boost. Yeah, that's what's up in the air at the moment. But yeah, look, I feel like that all the decisions I've made with the premiums that I brought in have really been good and they've paid off. I'm probably due to get a bad one soon rather than later. So we'll see.
Well, hopefully it's not to one of your low percentage pods. Because it'd be good to keep watching you fly here, mate. And if you've got some questions, we'll get into them in one moment. I'll bring this one up right now. I don't know if you can see that. Can I get a shout out for introducing Victor to Supercoach? Is this true, mate? Is this?
Yeah, it is. I think Duro used to play. What's the other one? Dream.
Yeah, Dream Team or AFL Fantasy, one of those.
Yeah, and I actually didn't know what a break even was and how the value of money was, and Duro explained that to me going back a while. But Duro's not playing this year, and now he's seen me be number one. So I don't know how we're going to take that. But
it's awful, Duro. Like, there's a couple of people that got me originally into all the Supercoach and stuff, and obviously I've become a bit of enough with all this stuff. And I do well, and I'm sure they're happy with me. But it's at the same time they're I'm sure they're a little bit frustrated and stuff like that. And I know because obviously I won't be doing my own pod this week, so I may as well get up my absolute horrendous team.
Let's have a look, mate.
And we'll have a look. It probably doesn't actually look as bad as what it probably could. It's just a couple of the decisions I've made. And if I can actually, if it lets me do that, which it will. So I guess you can see that there. So for me, I'm just going to go bang and use some boost here. So if I get up my undo changes, hopefully that'll come up so everybody can see what I'm planning to do. If not, I'll just read it out. So for me, I had Williams in, so it's looking like it's depending unless Hall magically gets named, but I'm looking at Williams, Hoare, and Sharp. As much as I'd like to hold Sharp, but it's I just feel like to get the money to do what I want to do, they're the three on the chopping block. To bring in McAuliffe, Garcia from St Kilda, and then Sammy Walsh in the midfield. Well done to those who went the week early, like Abs and yourself, and those who jumped on. The disastrous one for me was, I was big on Marshall, and he absolutely stunk it up, and he's not that highly owned, and it was an absolute killer, him putting up the 51. I think long term that'll be fine, but it didn't look great the first week, especially when 50% of the competition owned Grundy and he went 100 better. So that's where you get killed and destroyed. And obviously everybody knows that I went Harley Reid to Flanders a couple of weeks ago. So Harley Reid's gone berserk. And Flanders is Matt, like he's actually ahead on that. So that's fine. It's just the fact that of all players I had to trade, and he was the only one that could do it, unless the only other one I could do at the time was McKercher. And I was looking at the break evens and the roll, and I'm like, I feel like McKercher's the better one to keep right now. And then, of course, we know how that's played out, and it just, sometimes you live and die by the sword, and I'll cop that, no problem. Yeah. So we just try to rebuild, but I'm not disappointed in my team. I like it's the 6'4" midfielders in there. They're pretty gun midfielders. Fife's in the midfield at the moment, but I can easily swing him forward to be F5. My backline still a slight light on, but at the same time, Sheasel, Dacos, Martin are all flying, and Roberts, D'Ambrosio, and Closley. If Massimo can stay on the field and not get subbed off, he's scoring half decent, and the plan will be once Stewart bottoms out, Massimo will become Stewart anyway. So there's a few value players I'm trying to eye off, which will hopefully put me in good stead, but overall, I'm not completely disappointed with the team. It's just, a couple of those highly owned players, I just need them to stop scoring.
Yeah. I think, and like I said, Rye did have his first game under 100. So, I feel like that it's very hard to maintain that sort of 130, 135 average.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Heaney's the same player as well. He had probably 4 BOGs, and now it's like, and I know a lot of people have went Heaney to Flanders, and I didn't do that. I kept Heaney. But look, you are going to need luck with your premiums to score now, especially with 22. But I feel like it's also about trying to pick the right rookies in the to fill the gaps with having your best 22. So
and I think a few people know from my history, a couple of the buy rounds haven't served me well in previous years. I walked in one of the buy rounds pretty high as well, and then a bit of disaster struck and fell outside that maybe that top 50, and things happen. But best 22, I'm always more happier to see that. I think I played better Supercoach then, but it's all a learning curve, and it's all part of the fun and games of it. We'll flick over to our lovely listeners, and I appreciate everybody who's jumping on, because this is what you guys love jumping on for, is answering your questions, and there's always a ton, so we will jump through some of these, and we'll get the man who's leading the way to answer. And maybe you're not the person because you want to keep the lead, but no, it's good to have you here to help the rest of the Supercoach community. So we'll start off with the Dreamers. What mid should he be looking at trading in? He was like, I was planning to go Took, but have the money for Rao, and I've already got Bont, Butter, Sarong, Green, or Steele. So I think the question is, should he be looking at Took, Rao, or maybe Walsh if you're out of those three?
I think Rao. I feel like that he's on a mission this year. Like he's hard at it. He's driven. he doesn't have much potential injuries opposed to when he got injured at the start of his career. With Walsh, there was always a risk going early on him with his back issues, but like I just love Sammy Walsh. I just reckon he's a jet, which is why I picked him. And if I had more money to get Rowell, I might have went Rowell over Walsh, but at the time it was what I had, and that's why I went Walsh. But yeah, I don't know about Took. Like, yeah, he's a gun, but I think that those two are better. So I would probably go Rowell 1, Walsh 2.
Yeah. And it's something I'm still debating because there's a couple of moves, like I don't have to trade Hoare and I could get the cash to get up to Rowell instead of Walsh. And it's like, but like, I'm like, okay, Walsh has got the better break even. He's obviously going to go up. But then at the flip side, the draw for Rowell coming up in the next 3 weeks is just ridiculous. Really and maybe that's the pod. Maybe I should try to anti-pod Walsh against Rowell and hope that Walsh goes down. Not that I want Walshy to go down. He's a great player, but, you know, it might be the only way to get catch up. One off the actual off the chat, Aaron's messaged in, good friend of the show, and he said, "Would you go Walsh, Nick Martin, or Dawson?" And I know we're getting a few questions about Dawson, so I think we'll touch the Dawson part separately first. Okay. And is it worth trading him in? Yes, the fact that he's got North Melbourne, but with Matt Crouch coming back. Where do you stand on Dawson?
Okay. Well, he was 646,000 or 650 to start with, and he averaged over 120 last year. I felt like he butchered the ball the first 2 rounds. Like he had 30 the first round because my brother-in-law had him, and he ended up going after the second round. He ended up going Dawson to Crouch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might have been a little bit popular at the time because Crouch was going to make money. But I feel like that the key really isn't Crouch. I think the key is Laird. And I think that Laird is playing more half forward now, I've noticed. Not Laird used to be an absolute jet. I had him a number of years when I was doing Supercoach, when he was playing in the middle as a backman. Yeah. I feel like that Jordan Dawson, I think that he's definitely got a ceiling. And I think that he's very juicy, like 530,000 for a guy who, you know, was 640,000. I think it's worth the risk, personally. Okay, North Melbourne is one game, but at the end of the day, he is capable of, you know, being somewhere around a top 10 midfielder if he's on. And he done a lot. So I feel like that when players are out of form, they continue to stay out of form. But then I feel like that when they start to get form, it's the timing of when to bring them in.
Yep.
Like I bring Martin in, I think, at the right time where people started him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got burnt by what he did the first game. And then they had unlimited trade so they could make adjustments. Same as Hayden Young. People started with him and then they got rid of him. So I would probably, I'm definitely considering getting Dawson. I think he's a definite POD right now just because of his price point.
Yep, I like it. And then that's, I guess he was comparing between Walsh and Martin. Personally, I'm leaning slightly towards Walsh. But then if it meant doing 2 trades versus 3 trades, I'd probably then do I go back to Dawson because obviously you can, you know, save that boost and it could become important. Where would you save if it was just straight up and he had the cash Walsh versus Dawson? Which way would you?
Walsh. Walsh.
Yeah. And I'm taking Martin out of that for you, Aaron.
Even at his injury prone, like I think he's more consistent than Dawson. Like he's got 120s and 130s in him. Like I've never really seen Walshy have a bad game. Gets the ball, and he normally plays on the wing, but now that Chera's out, he's been playing more in the middle. And I feel like that for Carlton, like, mate, he has to be on the ball. Like he's too good to be isolated on the wing. Yeah. But yeah, I would go Walsh. Yeah.
Yep. No, makes sense. Thanks, Butt Scratcher. G'day, lads. Global good man. G'day there. Alex Rogers, Leo. Let me know if you know actually some of these people because I think
that's he's one of my mates. Obviously, I'm a Italian background, and the boys call me Bello. So that's obviously where he's. Hey, Gypsy, how are you, mate?
There's a few of the boys who have got on.
Yeah.
FPL down unders got on with the old Go Reds.
Yes.
Rookie super coach. I might actually I'll touch on you because I know you've posted something here on here. So you're looking at potentially Howe, Sharp, and Sexton out to bring in Walsh, McAuliffe, and Garcia, which is the exact same trades that I'm looking at bringing in.
Yep.
So you've obviously mentioned Garcia. Talk about our man Kane McAuliffe. Do you think he's a worthwhile option to bring in?
There's big raps on him in terms of in the seconds. Obviously, just speaking to a few of my Tiger mates, they reckon that in the seconds he was really dominating. Surprised he didn't get in earlier. Look, I think he's definitely worth the punt. Why? Because we've got so many injuries, and he's probably going to get some game time. Who's really going to come back in? That's probably the real concerning part. There's not really that much. I know Taranto's a couple of weeks away, I think.
Yeah, I think even longer than that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, I think that for a rookie who's on the bubble, I think that he's definitely one. Definitely. But, a lot of rookies come in, they play 1 or 2 games and they go out. So it's, you bank the rookies to get the cash generation, hopefully with some job security. But I think that he'd have better job security than most because we've got injuries.
And especially since we're really playing for nothing now.
Correct.
So may as well get the games for the kids. Just
100%.
It's reality here where it's you compare it to other teams, especially like Geelong. That's the debate with Clark. As talented as he is, they're up and flying at the moment. So they were the balance trying to get game time, but we're Richmond, Hawthorn, North Melbourne. As much as I know, I'm sure a lot of people saw my argument on Twitter last night with some West Coast supporters about the whole North Melbourne situation. I'm very big on the draft system needs to change. That's fine if you don't agree with that. But it's, why would they want to play, 25-year-old players who are just going to take a game off a kid? Like, what are they achieving by playing other guys? So it's hard because supporters obviously want to see wins, and we've all been through this. And there's some clubs that have actually been struggling a lot longer than others. St Kilda supporters, you obviously know that better than probably most. But at the same time, what's the difference between losing to 5 goals to 10 goals? And we see what meaningless wins do, like the game for North Melbourne Suns last year. So it's frustrating, but I just think that's reality. Yeah, I was hoping a question about Bailey L will come up. So is he really an option in our defence? It's a possible future D7 and a decent scorer short term. What are your thoughts about that, Vic?
I actually do like Dale. Obviously he kicks a lot. Like, I feel like sometimes his decision making, I've seen him do some howlers, because he really does try and do. I feel like that he does a lot. He's not a guy who's just going to chip sideways and then get it back and things like that. He's going to probably make mistakes. But these players are the players that can actually score well, that have a ceiling. He did 176 last week. He had a really good game. And he was I think it was a couple of years ago, or was it Swiz? I don't know, maybe last year or the year before. But he was on a radar of a potential starting top 6 defender. So
so it was 2022 where he averaged 101 for the season. And probably actually had a poor finish there. Like, he had a 68 and a couple of 80s to finish off. But he went on a run at one point where he was just scoring hundreds for fun. Coming off that half back. They did have a decent fixture at one point, the Doggies, but geez, he was dominating. And I can remember, I think I was at the Theatre with the wife and I traded him in and go to intermission, and I was checking his scores. I'm like, oh my God, what a great trade this guy is. He's dominating. And even the following year, he'd averaged 90 last year. And that was, again, he finished the season poor, a couple of 80s and a 50. He obviously, maybe just Bevo or wears out. But the start of this season, he's gone 87, 103, 93. And then Bevo's got involved, as Bevo does. But we've seen with this guy who's got the right role, he can put up 90, 95s, 100s, no problem. So is he better than some of those other premium defenders? No. He's got the potential to get close, but at 422, It is bargain basement. Like a lot of us were looking at Nasiah Wanganeen Malira, those sort of players at 470, going, well, they're 100k less, 150k less than these premiums. How close can they get? Well, Bailey D's proven that he can average 100 over a season. It's just the Bevo factor more than anything.
Yeah, and also a big thing for that is Caleb Daniel's not playing. So I feel like Caleb Daniel was sort of because I feel like that, like, the reason why I pick Zorko, the reason why I pick Martin, and obviously why I do want to get Flanders when I can, is because I feel like that the game is a lot to do with these halfback players. A lot of goals are being scored from like a point, like 4 kicks and then a goal. I feel like it is changing the game. So these players at the back line, they've got a lot of time to get kicks and to get cheap touches and get points. Caleb Daniel was that guy for Bulldogs. Now they don't really have him. They've got Ed Richards, and Ed Richards has been playing a little bit sometimes in the middle. Have I noticed it? Like, not much, but he's been playing there.
Middle wing, both of them. So, he did play a lot of middle this week with Libber out.
Correct. And then Johannesson, so I feel like that Dale is definitely one of them. And if he plays at the back and Daniel doesn't come back, and then they've got that Bramble now. So Bramble might take some points off him. But like I said, I don't mind Dale. Would I be getting him in my team? Probably not. But that's because I feel like that my defense is probably my strongest point. And but as a D7 possibly, but Matt Roberts might be the rookie saviour for the whole year, mate, because he's definitely got the role. So
100%. And the other part of, like, Bailey D, awesome on the weekend, the 170 odd, but he played St Kilda. And if you wanted a player, which I don't own, you do, Dan Houston this week playing the Saints is a very much a potential VC. I never like captaining guys like that, but he does play the Friday night. So you could definitely VC him because halfback flankers are having their way with St Kilda this year.
And that happened last year too. I won't forget it. Me and my mate Eddie, we've got a massive rivalry, and I didn't start Zeeble. He played against St Kilda. I watched the game. I think he scored 190. I'm pretty sure he did. And the main reason why is because St Kilda just drop off, and they just let because they're more of a defensive team, St Kilda, and they'll just let them keep chipping around. So VC Houston. Yeah, definitely a big shout, I think.
Yeah, that's a massive left field call there by me. But and the great thing is, because I never take my own advice, which is awful. But then somebody pops up and goes, "Oh, I listened to you say that. Thanks for this. Thanks for the recommendation. I did that." Yeah. And I was like, "I'm like, great. That's my job here. It's like, it's not about me. It's about you guys. That's why I come on each week, and you guys get to just laugh at my disastrous decisions for my team. That's the fun.
You're all right, mate. You're going to be fine. You're going to make better decisions going forward. All
right." Michael, hey guys, going Dempsey and Williams out with Walsh and Garcia in. Don't want to use a boost. Can I wait a week on McAuliffe, and as he has a 12 in his 3-round average, to get a better gauge? So what thoughts about Michael's question there, mate?
I have learnt my lesson last year. I do not pick a premium if they have had an increase. A rookie. So if I don't get them on the bubble, I've missed them, because I feel like that's chasing points, where like the process is you could get another rookie. So okay, Michael, if you don't get McAuliffe this week and you keep a boost, well, if you don't have Riley Garcia from Bulldogs, get him instead, and he's going to go up next week. But like I said to you, I know you've got to have some little strict things that you stick to, and I've really taught myself now, do not bring any rookie in that is past their bubble or made their money. I don't like to go early on rookies either, but I've had to. But in terms of them paying more for rookies, no, I prefer not to. And I think the boost is probably more important because you can potentially use it for buy rounds or, to bring it to another premium. And Walsh and Garcia is two of probably the best players to bring in this week, and they're probably going to make anywhere between 80 to 100,000 combined.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, we've got that. Benny Bailey still got Hewitt, boys. Hold or trade to Walsh or Martin. Hewitt, like, and my good mate Chris, who's obviously our co-host on the podcast, ended up starting him. I debated and went the other way. He's actually been really solid for owners bar 1 week there. So I don't know if it's an emergency trade out myself, but obviously looking at trying to go to potentially Walsh. Let's leave Martin probably aside. But so would you do the side swap?
How much is Hewitt? How much is Hewitt?
I feel like they're not that far apart, and I did have it in front of me. I'll get it back up.
Oh, yeah.
George Hewitt's 520, so it's 50K on top of him. And Hewitt and Walsh is 570.
And what's Hewitt averaging?
Hewitt's still averaging 104.
And his break even?
Break even is 83.
Oh, tough one.
It's a tight one, isn't it? Because obviously Walsh is in his break even, and he's been pretty solid here. He's gone the last 3 weeks 103, 105, 110. So it just seems like that standard 100-ish guy playing the role in there. So
is there a way that Ben can get Walsh another way to keep Hewitt? Because I feel like that, like, I don't know, I feel like that with, we could speak about it. He's not going to be a top 8 midfielder. We get that. But in terms of getting to the bye rounds, he's definitely one where you would definitely play and you can start him with faith that he's going to do well. He's definitely got the role. He gets into centre bounce. He tackles. I don't mind Hewitt, to be completely honest. And he would have bought him at like 420,000. So it's the same as Crouch. Like, people have, some people didn't get rid of Crouch last week. They've held him for this week because now they're ready for 22. And how many rookies are we going to field? 4 or 5 or 6? It's like, well, we'd rather do Hewitt. So I probably would keep Hewitt and I would try and get Walsh another way or Martin another way.
Yeah, and you probably got rookies in your team, be it Sharp, even if it, like, I personally don't want to move Fife, but if you had to probably choose between, say, Fife and Hewitt, I'm probably keeping Hewitt just because he's probably got a more reliable, maybe to the ball. I know Fife's got the forward status, but there's a lot of teams seem to have enough rookie kind of cover. There are ways I feel like you could get potentially Walsh in.
Yeah.
That's kind of something that'd be interesting to actually see your team on there. The positively on this one is Zorko will pull a hammy. It's the whole reason. The only worry is with like somebody like him and Yo, and it's the reason I never had them was obviously older players. They're going to probably either need a rest at some point or something may happen. But because they've gone so well so far now, it just becomes an easy trade if something happened.
Correct.
Depending on because they've done what they've needed to do.
But with Yo, he did have a full preseason, and it's the first time he's had one for a while. And obviously, he was a lot cheaper. But with Zorko, Abdul, Abs Magic, sent me a little thing on the news about Zorko with some sort of, way to improve his muscles and things like that. I can't really remember it now. I watched it a couple of weeks ago. But he feels like he's a 25-year-old again, and he's only playing at the back. But the reason why Nenad's saying that, he's one of my mates, Swiz. He had him last year and he was up and down like a yo-yo with injury. And when I brought him in, they're like, he's going to get injured. And this is the thing. Everyone's going to have an opinion. But at the end of the day, he's done the purpose for me to get me 3 good scores.
Yep.
If he does a hammy, I'm due. Like, if I would have started Stewart, I would have had an injury. So I'm due to cop one, mate. But at least I'm hoping now I can just replace him with someone else if that does happen.
Yep, 100%. I'm going to go to say one of the boys here.
Sorry, mate. I don't know why all that. Just
I love it. Oh, that's great. Esky, go fellas. Sexton, Sanders, and Williams out. Biggie, New Wing, Garcia, and Walsh in. That'll give me 163 in the kitty. I'm going to have to carry Stewart this week. What are your thoughts on getting, say, a Biggie? Now, I'm pretty sure, obviously, didn't. I'm did he have the old price rise this week, or
He's on the bubble this week.
he's on the bubble? So what are your thoughts on say Biggie? And I guess it's a good debate on say somebody like him versus like Kay McAuliffe is probably the one that people are going to be debating about. Biggie, first week looked pretty solid. But then the second week only put up a 46 against the Hawks, break even of -64. But that first score obviously drop out pretty quick. So if I'm going to gather Heskey doesn't have McAuliffe, where would you lean there? Because Garcia and Walsh seems the popular choice for everyone. So I think that's fine. And your outs, mate, no problems. Yeah. But Biggie kind of versus McAuliffe it seems to be the decision here.
I went early on Biggie because I was in the forward and I didn't play him this week. I didn't know anything really about Garcia, which is why I know Abdul put him in, but I didn't because I didn't know nothing about him. And I watched Biggie and I liked his role. It's a tough one. You know what? Biggie played for Richmond. He's a Kangaroo. So I'm going to say, you know what? Back to Tiger Reed and go for Kane.
Yeah, I love it. Alex, is it true that your success this year is mainly based on you only having one Richmond player in your team?
Yes, it probably is. I used to have Dusty every year, and now he's not in there. And it's no, I haven't had none of them.
So. Ricky, we did talk about Dawson before, but if you've probably already got Walsh, no problems, Dawson. He's on the way up. Just like it's the sort of guy I actually want to watch how they like run out before I like have the trade ready to go. And if I see sort of like Dawson wandering to the forward line or something else, I'd be more keen to reverse it. Where if so you kind of got to have a little bit of a look at the lineup, but I think he's the captain. I've been big on him all year. Once he comes good, he hits purple patches. So you've got to have some confidence about bringing him in.
Yeah, I agree with that, mate.
And Matt's got the exact same thing, so no problem there. I'll move on to Mike. Good support of the show. We do appreciate you and your donations, Mike. Thank you so much for supporting us, mate. So I'm thinking Rowell or Houston. I was hoping to bring in Parrish this week, but he's on struggle street. I've mentioned Parrish a couple of weeks ago. Not at the moment because he's in absolute shocking form, but he is the sort of guy that gets in purple patches. He will go on a 5-6 week heater at some point throughout the season. It's not now, but it's one to watch. And hopefully the slide continues to the fact he gets to about 400K, has that. And once he has that one big game, it's jump on because that guy has 4, 5, 6 games in a row every time. And then he goes to water. So he's potential a little cash cow premium at some point throughout the season, but it's not now. But Rowell Houston, that's a really tough call for me. What are you doing, Vic?
It depends on like how many defenders that are keepers and how many midfielders that he has. Like, I think that Houston could definitely finish as a top 6 defender. Well, he's there at the moment in terms of what he's averaging, and he might score 170 this week against St Kilda, as you said, Swiz. And obviously, Rao's going to be a top 8 midfielder. So I think either one of them is good. It just depends on your team balance.
Yep. If you need to fix your defense, Houston. If not, if it's your midfield, Rao. We know the Suns draw coming up.
He's really good.
Houston's a VC option. Rao's a captain option.
Yeah.
So,
but Houston's not really. Sorry, you go. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that's the hard thing because a lot of us, and I'm gathering you're going to have the same VC here we haven't talked about, but Maxi going against the Tigers, is that just an absolute lock for everybody?
Oh, man, I think it has to. There's no secret, man. I'm happy to say, man, I'm doing VC on Gordon. Obviously, Nakes, he's got heart. He's our warrior. He's our captain. But Maxi is it looks like he's a 27-year-old the way he's playing at the moment. The way he's moving, and they always beat us, mate. I'm going on Wednesday night to watch it as well. Me and my cousin go every year, Richmond, Melbourne. It's like something we always do, but now we're going to definitely lose to them for a few times to come. I think Gorney's definitely the one. But I think like Houston, I was just saying with Houston, he's not really. He could be a POD because how many % is Houston in?
I'll have it here, mate.
Sorry.
Maybe
like
all good. as I flip through my all my other stats, 11% still.
There you go. So, yeah, I think there's a POD definitely. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, but then saying that Real was a kind of a POD as well. It's what's Rowley at the moment? Rowley's only still 19%, obviously a little bit more higher, but it's compared to the ownership of some of the other guys. And there's that little bit of debate for me going. Yeah, everyone's going on Walsh, but I know at the moment I don't jump on Walsh. He's probably going like 200, but yeah, I wouldn't mind Rowley just because I feel like he's going to towel up.
Go your gut, mate.
Actually, I know. Just go my gut. That's the problem.
Don't worry about it.
Just talk to too many people. Somebody whoever gave me the great advice the other day, and it's so frustrating because my job at the moment, I can't drink while I'm doing the pod like we used to and stuff. So it's like, just crack open a couple of drinks and then just make your trades there, and I'd be so much better. But yeah, back next year. What we got here? We got Mason Jag. How's it going, boys? Yeah, we're good. Should I double downgrade this week and miss out on an upgrade to Sarong, etc., or should I upgrade downgrade? And that, I think that is a good question because a few people have been asking that, saying because obviously got Garcia there, McAuliffe. Some people have Biggie, obviously. Mason, you already have him, but there's a few rookies here and. Outside of Raul Garcia at the moment, and there's always rookies that do pop up, but outside of him at the moment, no other rookie seems to be on the equation. So some people are thinking, do we double downgrade, get the rookies while we've got a chance, and then try to bank cash for next week? Or is it a case that do you fall too far behind and you should be looking maybe one up, one down?
I've always been, if the player that I want I can get with an upgrade, I would always upgrade over a rookie. Double downgrade is simply that I don't have enough money to get the player that I want, and the option is to double downgrade. And that might be based on, a potential player having a higher break even, they're going to lose money, and a player being on the bubble. But like I said, McAuliffe's only got a break even of -12, so it's not. He's going to make money, but it's, if he does 100, then he's going to make a substantial amount of money. So does he have that? I don't know. But yeah, if I could get the premium that I want, I would definitely be upgrading because the job is to get as many premiums on the park as possible as we can. Because obviously that's how I've got to this sort of being first. I can't believe I'm saying that, but being first.
No, you can say it as many times as you want. Mate, but
just because I've upgraded and I've taken risks and I've been rewarded. So I would upgrade. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Ricky, it's a great question you've got here, mate. Can we trust Bevo with Macrae? Now, I'm not going to bag Bevo because the Bulldog supporters come after me every frigging time. But that's the way it goes sometimes. But it'd be great to able to trust him from a personal point of view. But Macrae played that role because Libba wasn't there. Now, is it just a case that Richards goes out and Macrae kind of keeps some of that role that he has and Libba plays there? But I do have questions because we know Caleb Daniels being left out of the team. Macrae's had different roles and stuff, so I'm worried to go there. What are your thoughts on Macrae? Is he in your plans at the moment?
No, he's not. The reason why he's not because. I think that I originally even didn't want to start with Sanders, and the main reason why is I felt like there was too many options in the Bulldogs midfield. They go very, very you got Bont, Treloar, Libba, then there's all players running through the middle. I felt like that even Sanders wasn't going to get game time. If Macrae's going to play on the wing or half forward flank, I don't think he's got the role. Macrae was a player when he was good, he was on the ball. And he was a ball magnet, but he's not really getting the 35s or 40 touches no more. I'd probably wait a week on him to see what happens with Libba when Libba comes back and potentially see where Macrae plays. So I'd probably wait a week.
Yep. Yes. Yep, I think that's fair. Yep. It's not going to cost you too much money. I don't think Macrae's going to put in a ridiculous, stupid game like that. Hayden, I'm using my second last boost. I've done Sanders, Carroll, and Sharp for Garcia. Our boy, leave it. I was going to say leave it, but Mao and Walshy thoughts. I'm not too sure about getting on Mal. Just like he had a great game against West Coast, but again, it was West Coast. He's not going to do that every week as a forward, as good as he did play that game. I think there's other options I'd be looking at, but for the other trades, yeah, fine. If you could do Walsh in 2 trades, no problems. But if you can't, we've already mentioned a couple of those other rookies. Your thoughts there, mate?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Another one of the mistakes I made is I actually had Lafau in on a boost, and I had Sharp as emergency, and he did 128. So I actually chased the points, and I got rid of Lafau for a non-playing player, and I didn't start Sanders. So it cost me 46 points. But the reason why I chose Lafau is because I felt like that he would play because we got no one. He really had a good game against West Coast, but now you're going late on him. He's now made his money, but now he's still going to make more money. But I'd probably pass on him, buying him at 180,000.
Yeah, Supercoach have got his projected scores 51 next 2 weeks to make about 80K, and he's only gone over 51 twice, which was once, which was the 108. The others have been at 26, 39, 49. So
and that's why I got rid of him that week.
Yeah, and he's playing Melbourne this week, and that's May, Lever, everyone else they have. Like, I'm taking the other half. It's her first Anzac Eve game because obviously she goes to Anzac every time. But I usually go with my best mates. Mates. One's a Richmond, one's a Melbourne supporter. But I'm like, no, you can come along and see this disaster, and I'm sure she'll enjoy it as an Essendon supporter. But I don't see it going that great. I'll give a shout out here also to Fred. Thank you so much for the donation. Feel free to ask the question there, Fred. That's what we're here for, mate. But no, I appreciate your thoughts. Oh, the great man's jumped on too, and we'll get to him in a second. Kev, thank you as always for jumping on. For another mate, you always come on and say g'day. Feel free to ask a question, buddy. Dean asking about. I'm gathering your golf game at the moment, mate, because mine's horrendous. But how do you hit them, mate?
Yeah, I'm on PB handicap at the moment. I'm around 16.7. I had 36 points on Sunday at Heritage in our social club at the Sultans of the Swing. I'm in a social club with the boys, which is a really good day in the morning. But I'm going okay. I'm hitting it all right, but it's probably just the consistency and the time to get better. So, what about yourself?
Heritage out of Churnside, I'm gathering. You mean there, mate?
Yeah, I played the Henley course.
Yep.
Yeah, it was actually a really good track. It was nice.
It's funny because it's not that far from where I am, and I haven't played it yet. So I'll have to.
Nice. Yeah, mate, you should.
Yeah.
It took us 5 minutes from the clubhouse in the golf cart to drive there.
Nice.
So you had to get into your golf cart and drive all the way to the course. It's funny.
Oh, that's great. Who will make way for Peter Wright on Thursday? Does Essendon play 3 talls? Well, I can answer this. Essendon apparently have already confirmed that Draper will play. So, and I don't think they're going to drop Goldstein for the match. So it looks like they probably will play all 3 talls, which is really surprising. I think the situation will be they'll probably start the 3 and then one will get subbed out, bar an injury. And this is the way the clubs do get themselves in a little bit of trouble from a footy point of view, where if they cop another injury throughout the game, all of a sudden last quarter you've got these 3 tools on, and then how do you kind of manage that? But I'm gathering that's what Essendon's thinking will be going into the game.
And I reckon that they can stretch him. Like, I feel like with Collingwood now they've got no Murphy, like he's out. So like, I feel like Darcy Moore is he's a freak, but like Darcy Moore, he has been beaten when teams have I think Curnow kicked 6 on him when they beat him last year. I feel like that that's how Collingwood could be beaten, their defence, to put him under pressure. And I feel like that, Peter Wright, I'll definitely be playing him. He could definitely kick a goal, mate. He's a good player. So.
He's a good one. Doing grab track now ahead of the good fixture. Now I can say my good mate Grimo has been messaging me about this all day, and he at the moment has track in. And the reason is he's like, it's a break even of 157. Normally we'd look at that and go, but he's like, they're playing the Tykes. The Tykes without a midfield. Petrarca he's like, I want the points. He could absolutely destroy us this week. And not that he's thinking he'd go, 170, but it's not out of the question him going something ridiculous where he actually goes up in value. I think it's highly unlikely. But yeah, if you're looking for points on field, track could completely destroy us this week.
Yeah, I've had track every year in my team, like every single year. And the only reason why I didn't have an issue is because of the buys, and I chose Tom Green instead. Yeah, he's definitely got a ceiling. Like, he's definitely got the lock at the door 160, 170 against Richmond. Yeah, I don't mind that play, to be honest. Like, what's he worth now? 640 or 630?
623.
Yeah.
It's you've got him for
got?
44K cheaper. As I said, his break even's 157. The only negative is, for whatever reason, he has a poor game, or I don't even think they're not going to sub him off early. So, but it's just hard to believe, thinking he would have anything sub 120. Like, okay, maybe then you pick him up 20K cheaper, but it's still 120 points at least as a premium. And it's a left field option if you've got your ruck set where, and I've seen some rucks like I think the win this week, Abs is another one, has the Grundy Cherry combination. So if you don't, if you don't have Gawn,
I've got Gawn, sorry.
But for people who don't have Gawn, so there's another left field vice captain option for you if you've got track or looking to bring in track, because he could absolutely towel us. So I don't mind that at all. Fred, here we go. Is Tom Green a keeper? Yeah, another great question here. I personally think he is. Like, he's the ball in that midfield. Yeah, he's had a couple bad games. It happens, but I know some people are getting itchy fingers. What are your thoughts on what people should do with Tom Green, who's got this, who's 591 and a break even of 183?
Yeah, I've got him. Look, I'm going to keep him for now, but it wouldn't surprise me if you haven't got other issues in your team that you could potentially go to a higher player. But the reality is, we know he's got it in him, but he did have easy fixtures the first 3 games. He played West Coast, Kangaroos, and was one more, I think. Kangaroos, West Coast, and there was one more easy game.
I know he destroyed, obviously, Collingwood, but he did pretty well against the Suns as well.
Yeah, so he had Gold Coast, Kangaroos, and West Coast. Then he had his bye.
Yep.
So he hasn't scored 100 since. He's had 2 under 100. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. No, he had the 109 straight after the bye, and then since then it's been disaster.
Yeah. If I wasn't in a position that I potentially wanted to upgrade, I don't know. I don't really like in the first 2 or 3 weeks, I like to do correction trades where if I feel like that there's a little bit of an issue, that's probably when I would like to do that. Getting rid of Green is like, it's very aggressive. It's like getting rid of Dacos.
Yeah.
And people did, and then he comes out and does a 130. So I would keep him. Is he a keeper? I think he is for now, but will he be in after the buys? That I don't know. Because, that's probably where you would consider maybe potentially getting rid of him if he's not.
The hard thing is he's got the first buy, so it does make it tough. So if you are considering it and you wanted, you've got real other issues in your team, like I could see people doing it. Hopefully he drops cash and just hope it doesn't burn you. Like, I think this is the exact same people were going through the same thought with Dawson last week. Like, how much can we cop with him putting up poor scores? And then we see what happens. The Lions, we know the Lions are a good team. He's never posted a decent score against the Lions. That's a bit of food for thought there. His highest score against the Lions is 77, but we know the Lions haven't been traveling so well this year either. It's at Manuka. These are all things that sort of bit to take into consideration. Maybe the poor forms, no Canelio this week, it didn't help. The Giants are appealing Hogan and Green's suspension. What does that do? The fact that they're not there up in the forward line, does that mean they've got to swap other players and they just become more reliant on Green in the midfield? There's a lot to think about there. The fact that he's so highly owned by pretty well 50% of the competition, if you were to move him on and he continues to stink it up, that's a way to get ahead of the comp. If he rebounds and starts putting up these 130s again, and then, you find yourself in a world of hurt. So there's no right or wrong, but some people are going to go one way, other people will go the other, and it's going to pay off for someone.
Yeah. Look, I probably would keep him, but yeah, that's what I think. But you are right when you said it could go either way.
Yeah. Another one about the Essendon thing, about wondering about what Brad Scott will do with selections. Yeah, it'll be interesting. At least with Anzac, that'll come out Wednesday night. And I know a few Bomber supporters have been saying this on the forums, and like how's their selection? It's not as much as obviously Supercoach relevant, but what they're going to do. And I guess it'll come down a little bit to the weather too. I know the weather's pretty piss poor for our game on the Wednesday night. But Thursday on Anzac Day, it's even meant to be worse. So do you want naturally you prefer the bigger bodies, but at the same time is you want kind of bigger body midfielders and solid guys. It's not necessarily you want these big lanky, well, Draper's not necessarily lanky, but some of these tall guys on the ground. It makes it hard because there's not a lot of marking happens in some of these real wet weather matches. So hopefully it clears up, and apparently it could. But we know what Melbourne weather is like. So if it could be a case where it just might be a last minute change, and their decisions could be what happens with the conditions leading into that match.
Yeah. I think you're spot on there too, mate. It's I think if it's really wet, I don't know about talls. That's what you're sort of saying. Like you don't want to be really going top heavy.
Yeah.
So probably potentially will be weather dependent, I would think.
Exactly. Here we go. Just calm her down. Thank you, great man, for jumping on, saying hello. Feel free to answer any of the questions on that chat. You are an awesome legend, mate. And, you cop your stick because you play Supercoach very differently to I sit there and say he's the Abdul, you're the T10 version of Supercoach. A lot of people prefer their test cricket. But you are the new hot thing on the block, and the way you play is very aggressive, but we love it, and you continue to do so well. So, we love having you on, mate. Gibbo, appreciate so much, mate. Big donation, loving it, buddy. Can Tom Brown turn his form back around again? I'll let you start with this one because I've got an opinion about this as well.
I actually like him. Like I reckon he, like the first couple of games he played, he did really, really well. Couple of like good decisions he was making too, especially because we've got like now with no Gibbo, with no Bolter, we've got like who we've got Tyler Young, we've got Miller, we've got Tom Brown. I thought he was actually okay, and I think he can turn it around. I don't know if Supercoach relevant if you have him, because I don't own him, what his break even and that is, but I think for like the
14, so it's still pretty good.
Okay.
But I think it's all right. So you can definitely hold. My issue was, and one of the reasons, like I kind of was looking at him, he scored 95, but it was against St Kilda, and we know what every backman does against the Saints. So no surprise last week, West Coast, where Richmond dominating early, but Voston was the one dominating in the back line as he does at 29. I saw him, watched him live in that Sydney game. I was watching him closely. I thought he had no impact in the first half, definitely improved in the second half, and that's why I didn't end up picking him. It's a young fella, so he's going to go in and out of games. It's going to also be highly dependent if the ball is coming in his side. And we saw this, like I talked about Jeremy Sharp on the wing a couple of weeks ago. All the ball was played down the TV side, not the far wing, and he doesn't see it. No different to half-back guys. If the ball is getting transitioned out one way all the time, these guys don't see the ball, and that sometimes Tom Brown's just playing on the wrong side of the ground. So, I wouldn't trade out, but I wouldn't hope you'll be holding your breath that he's going to come out and score another 90 this week. Hopefully he does for owners, but I can't see it potentially happening. Oh, right. Calm her down. What have you got here for us, Supercoach Godfather? If I see Cheezel in the middle this week, and if he scores similar to LDU, I'm trading him out. Are you two sexy beasts joining me? What are your thoughts about Cheezel and a potential change of role?
Yeah, Not getting rid of him. Jet.
I love how you play apps.
Right.
As I said it, mate. Like, yeah, and you will.
He's a
And
serious Jet. Like,
and either, mate, you'll put egg on everyone's face and you'll be like, I told you to do that, stuff like that, or you'll be breaking more guitars. That's the one thing I should have done when I won the NBL Supercoach weekly. I should have gone out and bought a guitar shop and invested in that because I could have made thousands of dollars with you abs, mate.
Yeah. He's a Jet, mate. Keep him, Abdul. Don't get rid of him, mate.
Sean, is Bows an option or Bows?
Yeah, Geelong, you can get away with, like, I don't have any Geelong players in my team like Bowes or Holmes, these type of players, but they don't really have a lot of like gun midfielders. Like Dangerfield's getting older now. Like they're sort of a little bit more like Adelaide. Like Adelaide are running, like the Saligos and Rankin through the middle, and Geelong are sort of doing the same. Like Parfitt, these type of guys. So, like, I just don't see it being keepers. So I don't really see the purpose now of buying a Bowes. Like, right now in this part, whoever you're bringing in, you're keeping them definitely to the buys. It's like, surely there's other players around Bowes' price that you might be able to go. But in saying that, he might, he had a good game last week, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the 124. If you were the, I don't know the percentage. It was a very small percentage, but there was a tiny percentage that jumped on him after the North Melbourne game, after he'd gone 90 and 104, made you 52K, scores you a 124, and jumping on at 350 is definitely a guy that now you can ride to the buyers, and he's going to do a job for you. All of a sudden, 410, like he can continue to go and potentially, but it's just. Yeah, when everybody's sort of upgrading to actual proven premiums, it's a big risk. But if you need value out there, Geelong are flying. The other thing to take into account, they've played Hawthorn, Bulldogs, North, and the Lions who've really struggled in the wet. Harder games coming up. They've got Carlton, Melbourne, Port Adelaide, GWS on the horizon. So it's not their easiest draw. They played some great footy. They'll do well coming home. Because after that, they have a lot of games down in Geelong. But this little period here is a tough little period for them to get through. And, they're probably not going to have their way as they have been over these first, 5-6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably right.
All right, we'll take a couple more because we can't have you here all night, but we do appreciate all these questions, mate.
Right, it's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. It's good. I appreciate all the listeners jumping on. Tuke Miller, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I started with Miller and then I side traded him to Sarong because he had to buy.
The draw's great. I nearly think you've got a hold. Like the break even's fine. You've picked him for these matches coming up.
It just said you could pick Rao or you could and I think Anderson's even averaging more than him as well.
If you've got, I think if you've got him, you've got to hold him, and if you don't have him, you don't trade him in. Go other options.
Yeah, I probably would have traded him in. I would go if you got to go Gold Coast and you don't have Flanders, you'd probably go Flanders or you go potentially Rao, 100%. Yeah, I think that if you've got Miller, you keep him, but I wouldn't be bringing him in. No.
Yep. A couple other random ones, which I love all these other ones. Firstly, a bit of positivity there for you, mate.
Oh, thank you, mate. Appreciate that.
I like this from Global because these are the left field decisions people are looking at, and I do love people looking at kind of the pods. Jai Caldwell just came off a 129, is a forward, but he's at the weird price of 480, but he has gone 99, 99, 83, 129. Is there any way you could recommend Caldwell?
He's playing on the ball, he's got the role, so it means that he should be more involved. But 480,
yeah. If it was 380, it's a completely different discussion.
Yeah, it is. 480 is but the thing about it is and why I went Zorko because I paid 480 for Zorko as well. Mate, he could potentially be a sixth forward. Like if he's averaging, let's say he's averaging, what's he averaging? 87, 88 or a bit more?
I think it's a little bit. What was he? 91 at the moment.
Well, I think for any forward to be averaging 90 as a D5, and as an F5 or F6, yeah. It just depends if you've got money to get someone else who could potentially be a keeper, but he could be a keeper as a forward. But like the Essendon have players to come back in because
they've got the goat, set a goat. Who's got to come back in at some point, and surely Parrish has got to turn his phone. I think Caldwell, it's looking like he's gone ahead of him, but yeah,
because
I
he's
just
playing
think
forward, Parrish though. He's playing
but
forward.
he is, but he also is having that spell in the midfield as well.
Okay.
But the one thing is they do have an absolute brilliant draw coming up. And this is like Zach Maradonas are just about to be absolutely kissed on the old, after Anzac Day, which the Bombers, usually there's some players that play well on that. They've got the Eagles, the Giants, but that's at Marvel, North Melbourne, Richmond, Gold Coast. Then they play West Coast again. Like their run over the next sort of 6-7 weeks. I wouldn't mind actually owning an Essendon player. So global, again, it depends, I think, where you're ranked and how you're playing. But if you're like nearly me, further back, why not take the risk on him as well? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, okay, you fall back on a ranking, which if you're far enough, it's like, well, who cares? But if you're I feel like if you're sort of in Victor's position, there's no need to take a risk on him. But if you're trying to catch up and make ground, you could definitely make ground on somebody like a Caldwell, like, it's trying to offset like your Zorko move.
Yeah. I feel like if I was in a position where I was a bit behind, I would try and take some little calculated risks, like based on role and price. But in this position, I can't really be going to someone like that. But maybe Merritt is an option going forward. I don't have him. Good draw. Hopefully he has a quieter game this week, Swiz.
Mm-hmm.
And then he might be potentially on the radar with that draw.
And similar price, because we've got the question, and I love the fact that actually, Nath, you've put in your ranking here because it does make it a bit more relevant. The fact that you're ranked 804, so you are part of this chasing pack. Nick Newman, who had a fantastic year last year, is one of the better defenders, averaged over 100. We know ever since he's made the move to Sydney, he's fitted into that Carlton backline pretty well. But with their injuries that they've got, all the hamstring injuries going on at Carlton, he's come off a 116, looks back in a bit of form at 476, which is around that Caldwell price. Could you look at him as a backline pod?
Oh, yeah, I like him. Gets the ball a decent
that he does do.
Their foot. Williams, I don't know. Apparently, Cripps said he might be out for 1 week. Is that right? Or that's what I read, but I could be wrong. So if Williams is out for 1 week, I would assume that Newman would take the kick-ins, or majority of them.
Yep, I'd say that would have, because there's no one else at the moment. No Doherty, no Sard.
Williams or McGovern have been doing it, but I don't mind him. But yeah, it just depends if there's another defender that you think can be better than Newman. And he's ranked, like, you're ranked 804, so you're going really well. So, but then
it's the sort of move that could move you up there.
Yeah,
but there's risk. There's huge risk, huge reward in somebody who's like 100K cheaper than a couple of others. And like Jimmy here asking about VC options, we've talked about Houston. So if you don't have a Houston, like, he could go massive, and you're going Newman versus Houston this week. Yeah, of course, I'd rather the 100K and definitely go Houston. But if you don't have the money and you need that defender, like, Newman's pretty solid. Like, he can easily be a 95 kind of guy. And yeah, this is a good question as well. I think, the sideways trade, there's been a big debate on social media. Should people be sideways trading premiums out when they've got rookies to deal with too? And I think you're pretty consistent on this.
Yeah, it's more about the points. Like, a rookie potentially should score less than a premium. Yes. Like, if they've got buys, you could bring a premium who potentially might have a ceiling. It could be a 60 or 70 point differential. Like, you're not going to get a Closey that's going to always do a 124 or a Roberts that's going to do a 117 or Sharp who did 126 the other day. They're very rare. So yeah, but it's the point of why you're side trading the premium. Like, if you're side trading the premium because he's injured for 6 weeks, well, I don't see a point of holding him. But like people who had Crouch, some of them kept him. He's playing this week. So, you had a Roberts on the bench who basically covered Crouch. So, would you have thought that he was going to get 118? I wish he didn't, but he did. But that was the risk of holding Crouch, knowing that you could bring him in, but you had Roberts as someone for backup.
Exactly. And that relates to Ricky's question, because he's like, LDU seems a bit disinterested at the moment, hasn't been scoring well, but he's just come off 100. His break even still only 107. And it's probably at the hard thing, and this is the whole Dawson equation to me, because the previous question about, side swapping and is it a waste? He's dropped so much cash now that LDU is now on a lot of other people's thoughts about, do we bring this guy in if he goes back-to-back hundreds or starts scoring? Because if he comes out the next couple of weeks and goes 105, 110, he's going to be around that same price. Other people are going to go, well, here's a guy who, again, like Dawson, was in the 600s last year and has got the history of doing it. So I think it's, once they've kind of bottomed out like this, if you trade them, their price becomes relevant. If you hold them, their price means nothing. And you've obviously saved the trade. So, unless something disastrous happens and they start continuing to, if they were throwing up 60s each week, I think it's a different story. But I would rather, as Vic said before, get those rookies off the field and, worry about that than worrying about your LDUs, your Dawsons, or your other Took Millers, whoever else we're complaining about.
Yeah, I think that look, I've never had him in my team. Like, even last year, I never had him. But he's definitely got ability, and he's got the ability to break out. It's just that Kangaroos are sort of struggling. They play a very defensive game. It's like, as a midfielder, they're just chipping. He doesn't get those little short kicks because they go sideways and, but he's always in the middle and he gets the ball. So, yeah, I think I would keep him if I had him. Like, if you started with him and you've seen something in him, it was same as Dawson last week. People that got rid of him would be cursing that he scored a 168. So, I'd probably keep him.
Exactly. And we'll do one last one, because otherwise we'll be here last night. But we do appreciate everyone. And apologies to other people who have thrown up the other questions and stuff. I'll try to get them at some point. But just because I like this, it's a bit different. Again, hey guys, so I own Gordon Grundy. He's brought in Meek, which a few people did cover Gordon Grundy throughout the buys. Yep. What do you do with Meek now? The fact that, he's an R3 and they've got 3 decent rucks. He was originally planning on moving Grundy, but obviously Grundy's scoring his low break even. Is it a case that, what does he kind of do in this situation?
If it was me, I would either, is Conway on the bubble?
Conway is on the bubble. And one that hasn't brought up, and I kind of like the fact that you brought up, because I was hoping somebody was actually going to ask the question and they didn't. So Conway, now we don't know if Conway will be selected for back-to-back games, but he's a minus 44. He's gone 83-64. We don't know if he's going to play as the sole ruck again against the Blues, but there's potential there. So that is one way, if he was named, to, I guess, go Meek down. The hard thing, Meek's break even is 72. I think personally you could nearly treat Meek just as a bench cash cow this week, as much as it's annoying having that much cash there, because he has the potential to still make money. But if you want to move that money on, you could easily do that. The hard thing is, it depends if you've already got Livingston or the North Boy stashed in your forward line. Because the hard thing is now, what you do, if you've got that, it's an easy move. You can move a Meek and take the cash and move one of them on. But to bring in a non-player player this week, while you're trying to probably upgrade other things or downgrade other parts can make stuff difficult. So it's just I like what you've tried to do, but it's now you've got this weird situation where you've got 3 rucks and one's going to sit on your bench.
Yeah, look, you can't have that sort. You can't have that sort of money on your bench. So I wish I could see his team to see potentially if he's got Jackson in the forward line, because I think if he had Jackson in the forward line, I probably would just bring in Livingston and take the money, because at least then, if Gord or Grundy go down, you've got the flexibility to put Jackson in the ruck. I started with Naismith in the ruck.
He did say he does have Livingston in the forward line, so
he does.
That's what you're saying, Stephen. I think so.
So if you've got Livingston in the ruck,
if you've got him, then that's easy. Then I'd be trading Meek out, and the fact that Meek, well, we've thrown out some options there as well already in that same price bracket. But if you do a downgrade for someone else, you can potentially put Meek up to anybody. Like, if you don't have Walsh, it's what, 150K to find to get Meek up to Walsh. Like, it's not there. I think there's some stuff you can do there.
There's options.
Definitely options.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll leave it there. The show's going a bit longer than what we wanted, but at the same time, it went awesome because we've got the great man on, and it was nice to pick your brain, Victor. I really appreciate, but all the fans out there really appreciate you coming on and picking your brain. Hopefully we can do this again, and hopefully we're doing it again because you're still number 1, mate. Yeah, look, it's there's a lot of people now hunting me being number 1, but it's been a really good year. I'm enjoying it, and look forward to the lineups this week and all the games. But thanks for having me on, mate. I really appreciate it. Not a problem, mate. I'm always happy to talk Supercoach with one of our good Tiger men and another legend of the Supercoach community. So thank you. Thank you to everybody out there, and check out all the other podcasts that we've got on now. I think Chris is about to release his on Premiere, so he's spruiking that. So definitely jump aboard and you can see what Chris is doing, because I know he's ranking pretty well at the moment. But as always, thank you for the support. Check us out on all our socials, like, subscribe, do everything you need to do, and we will catch you soon. Bye, guys. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, mate. See you later, guys.